Shalom, shalom family, this is your Kia coming back again with another lesson. So before we jump in, I just want to give all glory and praises to the Most High Yahweh and to his son YHWH. So today I want to also jump into another very important topic, how Southern Africa used to be one kingdom, one united kingdom, because today we are having people running around, walking around, talking about indigenous people calling themselves, Khoisan, and then calling other Africans foreigners, saying they migrated here. But if we really go into history and if we are really truthful to the kingdoms that were here and to the records that were left behind, we have to see that Southern Africa was one kingdom. And it was a Hebrew kingdom, a kingdom that had Hebrew kings with Hebrew customs. So that's what we're going to be bringing out tonight. So, just want to exhort my people as well, bringing out this history so that we can return ultimately to the Most High, to our culture, to our customs, and return to being the greatest nation in the world. And this is just, some castles that are still left in Africa that they haven't been able to destroy the invaders, but I'm just showing them to say that these similar types of castles and higher architecture are things that were found all over Southern Africa. So I just want to tap into a little bit of videos and illustrations of, what the Hebrew kingdom, the Southern African Hebrew kingdom of Mutapa must have been like.
Kingdom of Mutapa, also known as the Kingdom of Mutapa, was a powerful and prosperous African civilization that existed from the 13th to the 17th century. It was located in the southern part of Africa, in what is now modern-day Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and parts of South Africa. The kingdom's name, Mutapa, was derived from the title given to its ruler, who was known as the Mutapa. The Kingdom of Mutapa was renowned for its wealth, trade networks, and impressive architecture. It was a highly organized society with a centralized government and a hierarchical social structure. The ruler, the Mutapa, held significant power and authority, and governed through a system of appointed officials. One of the major sources of Mutapa's wealth and influence was its control over gold mines. The kingdom had abundant gold deposits, which attracted traders from distant lands. Gold was mined and traded with merchants, particularly those from the Swahili coast and the Arabian Peninsula. The gold trade brought immense prosperity to the kingdom, allowing it to accumulate wealth and establish diplomatic and economic ties with neighboring regions. In addition to gold, the Kingdom of Mutapa was involved in the trade of other valuable commodities, such as ivory and copper. The kingdom's location allowed it to access important trade routes that connected the interior of Africa with the coastal regions. Mutapa served as a hub for the exchange of goods and ideas, fostering cultural diversity and economic growth. The capital city of the kingdom, Great Zimbabwe, was a remarkable architectural achievement. It consisted of stone structures, including walls, towers, and buildings, made from carefully fitted granite blocks. Great Zimbabwe served as the political and economic center of the kingdom, showcasing the advanced engineering skills of its inhabitants. The city's structures were not only functional but also symbolized the power and prestige of the Mutapa. Religion played a significant role in the Kingdom of Mutapa. The ruling elite practiced a blend of traditional African beliefs and Islamic customs brought by Arab traders. The Mutapa held religious authority and performed rituals to ensure the well-being and prosperity of the kingdom. The people of Mutapa had their own spiritual beliefs, which often centered around ancestral worship and the veneration of natural forces. Over time, the Kingdom of Mutapa faced challenges that led to its decline. Internal conflicts, external invasions, and the arrival of European colonizers disrupted the kingdom's stability. The Portuguese, in particular, sought to control the region and its valuable resources. Eventually, the Mutapa lost their political control, and the kingdom fragmented into smaller chiefdoms. Despite its decline, the legacy of the Kingdom of Mutapa endures. Great Zimbabwe, with its impressive stone structures, stands as a testament to the kingdom's engineering and architectural prowess. The ruins are recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, attracting visitors from around the world. The kingdom's rich cultural heritage, including its art, traditions, and oral history, continues to shape the identity of the people in the region. In conclusion, the Kingdom of Mutapa was a powerful African civilization that thrived through trade, wealth, and impressive architecture. Its control over gold mines and participation in long-distance trade networks brought prosperity and cultural exchange. Great Zimbabwe, its magnificent capital city, symbolized the kingdom's strength and achievements. Although the kingdom faced challenges and eventual decline, its cultural and historical significance remains an integral part of
The Mutapa Kingdom is one of the biggest kingdoms in Africa, and it's one of the most impressive if you look at their architecture. Clearly these people are not playing about how they see themselves and how seriously they take their architecture. But it's strange that a kingdom of people that seem to have no architecture prior to creating these great buildings have zero buildings. Like, how does that happen? Where did they get the practice? Well, today, the Zimbabwe and parts of Mozambique are thought to be the full extension of this empire under the Mutapa. Mutapa meaning the ruler of these conquered lands. But this interpretation does not match any of the ancient sources, or at least the historical sources from the 1600s, because Europeans interacted with a lot of these people. The story they tell is quite different. They tell of a kingdom that stretches from Zimbabwe all the way to Angola, one that stretches from the tips of Mozambique all the way to the promontory of the Cape of Good Hope. This would make it one of the largest empires in Africa. But we have to check the sources. So first, if we look at this map, we can see here that Mutapa, written in large, is very different than being written in the corner somewhere in Zimbabwe. But you see here, it stretches from, okay, so we're going to do this easily. The southern part that's pink, that's South Africa. And you can see that it stretches inside of South Africa. And then it goes all the way this side. And then you can see places like Sofala over here. You can see Zanguba over there. Mono Eumegi over there. And you can see that there's just Toroya, Tropica, Gale, Same, Mofata, Monomotupa. Just a whole bunch of places which are put in here as part of the kingdom. And right at the edges, if you look to the left, you can see there's Angola, there's Zambia, there's Abyssinia, or Abyssinia, right at the top. This is showing how large this was. Now, we can look at pictures all day, but there's also writing. To examine it properly, let's look at where modern people put Mutapa today, or the Mutapa Kingdom today, and where the empire of Mutapa is put by the people from the 1600s. And you see this map here is a little more conservative than the other one, but it still goes all the way to the Cape over here around South Africa. It dips down into Southern Africa over here, and it's this giant yellow area here. You can see the empire of Mutapa. But you see over there in this map, it's reduced to like this small two regions, not even encompassing the full countries they own today. The book we're looking at was published in 1668, but was written in 1639, and it covers all of Africa. From the history of ancient Egyptians, he writes about how the Egyptians traveled around the coast of Africa and went around Africa, being the first to do this through the Phoenicians. And then he writes about different states. And as you can see at the top, he writes about Robben Island, an island very close to South Africa. So this person is no dummy. He knows a lot about South Africa. And over there you can see the title, the second title, Het Keizerrijk van Mutapa, which means the kingdom of Mutapa, or the empire of Mutapa. And interestingly, what he writes is that Mutapa is a really large place, and though it's centered in Zimbabwe, the empires that go from the buildings that go from Zimbabwe all the way to the Cape, so in Botswana and these places, are buildings that see the prince or the Kaiser of Mutapa as their prince. So in other words, they see him as their king, even though they're not in the same region. And this is also easily illustrated when you check that the Zimbabweans used to trade as far as the Cape. And so sending things through there is easy to see how they would have had control of those areas. Not to mention control of more southerly areas like Mapungubwe, which is in southern Africa. And you can see, because they were contemporaries, they existed at the same time, it's possible that this was just another extension of the Mutapa kingdom. So let's check. Het Keizerrijk of Land van Mutapa bij innigen als Joseph Oro binnen Mutapa in bij Sonnet Benomo Takajanemet, which that's a longer word. Leed de lander waard in voor het een zee gelegen koninkrijk van Sofala. Okay, so basically is explaining that there's many names which they call Mutapa, and down here they're explaining that it's by the sea next to the kingdom of Sofala. And going down, let's just skim through it. Basically, he mentions that there's a river, a Zambezi River, Zambera, and he explains that there's also an island. You can see there at the bottom, Eland. It's only when we go to the next page that we can see it get a little more interesting. They continue to describe, and then it says here, okay, so it says 113 miles, want ook al die klein koninkrijken van die river Menis tot eind die Kaap van Goederhoop worden gezeiden vorst van Mutapa voor een opereer erkennen gelijk die van Torio en Butwa. Okay, so dan die gehele omtrek. Okay, so basically what he's saying is from the Cape to 100 miles from the Cape, there are kingdoms over there, and from these areas all the way like 100 miles away from the Cape, these kingdoms in between the Cape and Great Zimbabwe are owned by the Mutapa. Then it says that the circumference of this area is about 100 and, let's see, op 735 French Malin. So basically it's saying it's the circumference of the island is 705, wait, is that 15? I don't know. And 5 and 13. Okay, I don't know, but it's something like 753 miles, French miles. The king of the kingdom has one big place in the capital, but Vincent LeBlanc calls the entire state, that's the map that you saw, he calls the entire state, including these outside areas, he calls them Mutapa, and not just the one state. And then we carry on. We can see that over and over again they emphasize that the kingdom comes all the way to the Cape. You also see that he says um, 5 miles from Sofala, there's houses of the Zinj where they spend all day. The palace of the king is huge. And if we go down, we can see that they talk about how they trade gold and they trade ivory and they trade other things with people. They mention that the kingdom is so full of gold that the Portuguese called them the kings of gold. So now he mentions the kingdom of Butua, and you could tell that he's obviously saying that it's under the kingship of Onamatapa. But more than this, its capital is calming. Its capital is amazing. If you look at the pictures, it's beyond, even in my estimation, than Great Zimbabwe. I have to state immediately why you see holes in the architecture. You can see that they're done on purpose. These holes would be terrible for the architecture here, but it's a style, and the reason the style exists is because this is a symbolic thing. It symbolizes unity, this checkered pattern, and it also has other symbols, but let's not worry about that. These buildings have the same checkered pattern that you would see on Kuba cloth on their um, kilts. And you can see here, it says here, this is Kuba cloth, the checkered pattern. The checkered pattern on Kuba cloth represents the idea of balance and harmony and the concept of dualism, in which opposing forces are seen as complementary and necessary to maintain balance. Of course, there was trade between Great Zimbabwe and Zaire, which is Congo today, and Zambezi. These places, this is how you know that these communities were not separated. You see how that map had that area circled all the way to Zaire? So you see here it says Great Zimbabwe was also at the hub of an extension local network. Tin ingots came from 600 kilometers to the south. Iron bells were probably made near the Zambezi, if not in Zaire, and such things as copper, salt, soapstone, cattle, and grain were part of a system of tribute that supported the capital. In Great Zimbabwe, the Great Enclosure, you can see patterns and symbols that show the status of apparently young man or the king. On the top, these chevron patterns, as they call them. On their own, though, those zigzags represent water. And you can see that it says that the Shona people, those zigzags represent a snake of fertility. You see how a lot of these kingdoms, they have these words for these symbols. Another historical figure writes to us. His name is Duarte Bobosa. He writes in the book called The Book of Duarte Bobosa, Volume 1. And you can see it's Zimbabwe, so we'll talk about Zimbabwe. In this town of Mutapa is the king's most usual abode in a very large building, and thence the traders carry the inland gold to Sofala and give it unweighed to the Moors for colored cloths and beads, which are greatly esteemed among them, which beads come from Kambaya. As regards Mutapa, These Moors say that the gold comes from a place yet further away towards the Cape of Good Hope, from another kingdom subject to the king of Mutapa, who is a great lord with many kings.
So that was very interesting information what that brother brought out, how all of southern Africa was once upon a time one huge, massive empire, one massive kingdom. And even what I also found very interesting is the type of architecture and the type of style that they built in. And I just find it also similar as well, and no coincidence that our forefathers, the ancient Hebrews, also dressed like that as well. We see the depictions or in ancient Egypt of what the Israelites wore, and even here is like more of an artist depiction as well of maybe what the cities could have looked like. Man, just imagine what it could have been like if we could have time traveled and just witnessed just what one of the palaces could have been look like, and what we could have looked like in our glory days, man. But that's why it's so important for us to dig into this information so we can just learn, who the hell we are. And here's some very important information that I wanted to bring out as well here of the Mutapa kings, the list of kings, right? So here, more towards this particular king, Neshangwe Munembire. He ruled during the Rosvi dynasty, but he was not of the royal Moyo Chirandu clan. He was a Njanja of the Moyo Signoro clan. His father, Guviela, was a Jew who ran away from Jewish persecution in the Iberian Peninsula, Sepharad, during the Inquisition, and married Chief Chirwa's daughter, Princess Masha Were, making her a Gambiza, Gertzezek, righteous foreigner. When her son Neshangwe became Mutapa king in true Hebrew fashion, she became known as Gebira, Hebrew for Queen Mother. So, I mean, I don't know like how much clearer and how much proof our people still needs, but says they in Hebrew custom. So it's showing you that the kingdom even in itself, and because you can't become a king in Hebrew fashion if you're not chosen by the ancestral spirits, and you're also not chosen by the Most High. And it's a kingdom of succession, so even before that particular king whose father was a Spanish Jew, who we also know the Spanish Jews were also Negroes as well. And this also ties in with the big, vast hidden history of our people, the Moorish Empire, which is the hidden history of our people before colonization, where our people the Israelites had a global empire stretching from Spain to Mutapa to the Americas to I don't know where else, but as what we're learning, we're discovering more and more of this hidden history and this hidden information. And we also know that through the source that I want to bring out here, the Jews and Moors of Spain, that the Israelites, the Spanish, the Israelites in Spain helped the Europeans discover the Cape of Good Hope, and they already knew about it. So just here a section to bring it out here on page 166. It says here, Jews who had been compelled to wander the wide world over had acquired a most perfect geographical knowledge which was serviceable to them now. It was through them that the existence of the Cape of Good Hope was made known in Europe. So these people, the Sephardic Israelites, the Spanish Jews, during the Moorish Empire, when the Spanish Inquisition was taking place, when they were doing like an ethnic cleansing of people of color in Europe and of people like Jews and Muslims, they were specifically hunting Israelites. So these people, they gave up the knowledge of where their other brothers where their brothers were, where their scattered brothers were, man. But just also here, just to back up as well, some scientific research here, archaeology as well, backs up and shows us that, you know, humans, a study done by the University of Cape Town showing us that humans, were always in the southern Kalahari, showing evidence of, you know, great waterfalls, great settlements, and as well, evidence of well as pastures as well. So, more here towards the end, it's telling us here that, you know, humans not only lived in the Kalahari, but at one point, you know, they thrived there, and it seemed like, you know, it was a hub of life. And it's not just, you know, just seems, you know, if you look at the Okavango Delta, you know, just go and do a little research on that, of how there is a flooded, what they call the flooded desert, man, like a desert, but it's a huge oasis in the middle of a desert. So, you know, considering all of these things and all of these facts, there's no way that we can now, you know, deny anymore who we are, because we fit the curses. Now we start seeing like the kings, the lineages of the kings, the Sephardic Israelites as well. They had a hand in the Europeans coming here as well. And we know that before the Europeans came here and conquered, that the Sephardic Israelites then married into kingdoms here, and those people would have never been accepted as becoming kings if we weren't one nation, you know, from the beginning. So at the end of the day, we should just like come back to who the hell we are, repent, and return back to the law, statutes, and commandments that's in the Bible, you know, because the Bible is our true history book. It's our book, but these colonizers, they didn't bring us the book. They came with a religion, a new religion, a false doctrine. And even the Bible tells you that in 1 John 2:7, you know, I give you no new commandment. And they came here with new commandments, new doctrine, you know, a new Messiah that's not according to the scriptures. So the scriptures can never even be theirs, because the oldest Bible in the world is in Ethiopia in any way. So that already dispels the whole notion that they brought it here, because how can they bring something that we already had? But yeah, I'm just gonna tap into another video then, just to explain a little bit more of the kingdoms and the ancient calendar system, Hebraic calendar system our people use.
2003, a pilot named Johann Heine was flying a small single-person plane over the remote Mpumalanga region in eastern South Africa, when suddenly he lost control of his aircraft and was sent plummeting to the earth below, crashing into a mountainside. Miraculously, Heine was unhurt. As he climbed from the wreckage, he was met with a most astounding sight. There in front of him were 3 enormous dolerite monoliths, huge stones many feet high, surely weighing many tons each. And behind these monoliths was a giant stone circle. Heine quickly realized that this was no natural arrangement of stones. The whole site seemed to be aligned with the cardinal points on the compass: north, south, east, west. Who, Heine wondered, could have built this mysterious site in such an utterly remote area? For help solving the mystery, Heine enlisted the assistance of his old friend, Michael Tellinger, a pharmacologist, politician, musician, and general jack-of-all-trades. They returned to the site of the crash the next day to begin what would become months, then years of measurements, calculations, and research. The immediate results were stunning. The stone ruins were in fact a giant calendar aligned with the movements of the sun, as well as the solstices and equinoxes. It could be used to mark every single day of the year by following the movement of shadows on the calendar stone at its center. Accordingly, the site would become known in the years to come as Adam's calendar. But as further
King
examination,
or paramount chief had both religious and political authority. The remote and rugged hill was a sacred site where ordinary people were not allowed to venture. We know Mapungubwe traded with Europe, India, China and Arabia because goods from these places have been found there, like these Chinese ceramics dating back to the 13th or 14th century. The people at Mapungubwe also made their own exquisite objects, and some dating from the 13th century are on display at the museum in Pretoria, like this wooden rhino covered in gold flake. A model of a cow. A gold headdress that looks like a cup. And a small golden staff. These were used by the rulers of Mapungubwe and show what...
So in closing, family, I just want to bring out this prophecy from our King YHWH in Luke 19 verse 40. And he answered and said unto them, I tell you that if these should hold their peace, the stones would immediately cry out. And when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes, for the day shall come upon thee, that thine enemies cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee. And they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. Wow, man, it seems like this prophecy has come to pass to a T, because these enemies have come and pressed us on every side and chopped up our kingdom, man, in so many pieces and splintered us, man. So, and, you know, even though no matter how hard they're trying to deny that there was any, you know, civilization in Southern Africa, they're trying to make our people look like savages, you know, and the scripture says that even the stones will cry out, and lo and behold, the stones are crying out that there was an advanced civilization of high technology that we know nothing really about. Like, we have complete amnesia to it, and we're only starting to tap in. And may the Almighty, you know, guide us. This is just a map showing the extent of Ethiopia and how low Ethiopia went down. We also know that in Zephaniah 3:10, the Most High says that from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my despair, shall bring mine offering. And that's exactly where we are, you know, beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. So, you know, hopefully we can, this can inspire you as well to, you know, do your own research. And, you know, and as it says here, wanted all Negro descendants of the 12 tribes here. So may we realize who we are. You know, we fit every single curse in the book of Deuteronomy 28. So, you know, may we repent and return to the Most High. And this is ultimately what we're doing it for, man. We're doing this work for, that we may hear from the Most High, you know, well done, thou good and faithful servant, you know. That's all that we want, is to be crowned by our King and to be ultimately recognized by him. And that's my wish for all of my people, you know, watching this. So with that, I give all praises to the Most High. And thank you so much all for tuning in. I say shalom.
Rise is real, level up. 12 times 12, gon' add it up. The Father with us, that's why they scared of us. Aki, why they mad at us? We just tryna level up. Rise is real, level up. 70 times 7, gon' add it up. The Father with us, that's why they scared of us. Aki, why they mad at us? We just tryna level up. Dust your feet off, Aki, you said enough. Realize they rejecting our, but they ain't rejecting us. It's a spirit on them, they get mad when we quote the scripts. Double-edged sword, got these demons throwing fits. Keep some